Senator Josh Hawley is so tired of not having answers from the Secret Service that he went down to Butler, Pennsylvania himself, took some pictures, made a video, and he's going to walk us around what he found there at the scene of the rally. Here's what he dropped on X. He says, as the Senate gathers information and prepares to hold hearings on the assassination attempt on President Trump, I, the senator, traveled down yesterday to Butler County myself. He says, because frankly, I don't trust any of these agencies or government officials to give us the facts. They have not done so thus far. And in fact, they've given us the opposite of facts. They've given us lies. We know that Director Cheadle, Kimberly from the Secret Service, has explained to us that there were big problems putting Secret Service officials on the roof because it was sloped. They also told us that there were local police inside the building, which is why they didn't need to secure the roof. But the truth is, local cops say that they're liars. That's our words, not theirs. They can't say that about the Secret Service, but we can, because the police notified the Secret Service that they were not going to be able to secure that building. In fact, the Washington Post reported that very thing, saying that they can't even put a patrol car there because they were already assigned to traffic. So Hawley is there. We're asking ourselves why the FBI or the Secret Service hasn't had a press briefing, much like we have after other shootings or assassination attempts. But it's been very quiet. They're trying to get their ducks in a row, trying to figure out how this incompetence led to such a failure. We, of course, have our suspicions. But here's what Hawley says. As he walks us around, he says, here I am. I'm standing, this is a senator, about where President Trump was on the day of the attack. He says, and you can see the low-slung building where the shooter was positioned. I was struck by just how close it was, right? Everybody can see it from the videos and from the photos that we've seen, but when you go and stand there, I'm sure it's even more surreal. And the camera lens, and it really gives you some perspective, but really a difficult time to create and understand the depth and really how close it is. So Hawley shows up, he says, look at it, it's pointing, it's right there. He says, it's not a tall building, single story. He walked over to where the building was, where the shooter was. He says the roof is barely sloped, lots of points to access to get onto the roof, and a clear line of sight to where the stage was. And this might be the location where the shooter actually got onto the roof. Remember that there were some conversations about a ladder being the primary method of getting onto the roof. But then there were other reports saying that, nope, those ladders belong to the SWAT team or to the other law enforcement officials who were also trying to get on the roof. And there was some rumor or indication from another mainstream source that he may have climbed up on top of an AC unit to get onto the roof here. And you can see in this photograph, it looks like that might be a prime candidate right there because it is near that low portion of the building. It looks like it connects two major buildings, and you could easily hop on there, jump on the short part of the building, then climb right on top of the main facility. No problem at all. And that may be exactly what he did. So Josh Hawley is there giving us his interpretation of the scene from his investigation. Here's another angle, and you can see that water tower is also back there, where some people are hinting that there may have been a shooter on top of that. But Hawley drops this on X, and you can see there's other people taking photographs. That's exactly where the shooter was. You see the trees that we've seen in a lot of the renderings are all now being reported on by the senator. He says, local law enforcement sources tell me that they are furious that the Secret Service and the Department of Homeland Security, so Director Cheadle and Mayorkas, are blaming them. And this is the same thing we saw all week long. They finally came out. They were posting about this on Facebook and defending themselves. Good for them, because they're not the Secret Service. They're not responsible for protecting Trump from an assassination. It'd be nice if the Secret Service actually accepted responsibility for that, but they are pointing their fingers at other local law enforcement. Oh, I thought you had that covered. No, it's your job. And we also learned that maybe it was not even the Secret Service who was ultimately responsible, because they may have been booted off and replaced with Homeland Security investigations thanks to Kimberly Cheadle, which begs the question, why did that happen? Why was the president given people who were not right for the job? So Hawley continues, he says, law enforcement sources say that there were multiple comms channels in operation that day, and law enforcement personnel were not synced up. So local cops didn't necessarily know what DHS or Secret Service knew in real time. And this was a big problem, obviously, because we heard the story about one of the local cops who boosted another local cop up onto the top of the roof, and he made eye contact, it sounds like, with the shooter, and then had to jump off the side of the roof because the shooter pointed his rifle at him. So then they got on the radio. They're buzzing everybody. Hey, there's a shooter on the roof. He just pointed a gun at a local cop. He's not one of ours, not a friendly. Do something about this. Did the Secret Service know? Did Homeland know? If not, why not? And if they did know, if somebody communicated the message to them, why did it take so long for them to respond? And was this a delay as a tactic, just like they did with January 6th? Can we get some help here? No, they just didn't even answer the phone call from Chief of Police Stephen Sund. So that the situation could get worse, they could enable it to happen, and then get the narrative that they want from the resulting damage. Same thing happening here. So Hawley says, whistleblowers also say the feds severely compressed the preparation time for this event, which should take days of planning according to protocol, so you could cover one of the most obvious roofs of all time. They did it in a matter of hours. Now, the American people deserve the truth, and we will get it. And so we're grateful that Hawley went down there, because he's got a lot of eyeballs. Obviously, he's a senator. He carries a little bit extra weight that maybe a standard person on the street may not have. You walk up, hey, I'd like to take some photos here. They say, get out of here. You say, I'm a U.S. senator. They may let you in. Seems like they did here. So very good report from Hawley. He also made a video. Here is what that sounded like when he was there standing on the scene. We get a little bit of a different perspective from him, and he explains his take on what he saw.
As you can see behind me, this is the roof the shooter was on. It is a very low roof, and it is very close to the fairground. I mean, it's right here. The president's stage was right over there, 150 yards or something away. And it's no wonder people could see him, because this roof is low. This building is really close in, and it's totally exposed. I mean, right where I'm standing, there were gobs of people. So it's no wonder that lots of folks saw him. The question is, why didn't law enforcement see him get on the roof? Why didn't they see him on the roof? Why didn't they go up and confront him before he started shooting, or before he got on the roof when he was all in this area? It's so close together. It's hard to understand. As you can see,
it is hard to understand. And another thing that's hard to understand is how the Secret Service got outsmarted by this 20-year-old non-military experienced individual. Turns out he also was flying a drone over the area. And turns out the Secret Service may not have even been flying drones. So they got outmanned, out-droned by this young guy who was apparently acting alone, and was able to infiltrate and bypass all of the Secret Service protection that was there for the president, if there was any. A gunman who tried to kill Trump was able to fly a drone and get aerial footage of the fairgrounds shortly before President Trump was set to speak there. Law enforcement officials briefed on the matter said, oh my gosh, they're flying nothing. This guy's flying reconnaissance. Thomas Matthew Crooks flew the drone on a programmed flight path earlier in the day on July 13th to scour the Butler farm grounds ahead of Trump's ill-fated rally. The predetermined path, the officials added, suggests Crooks flew the drone more than once, researched the site, scoped out the entire event. Crooks in recent months had received several packages to his home marked as hazardous materials. He did online searches for Trump rallies and all the things, but he was able to outsmart the entire Secret Service and get on the roof and fire a shot at the president and hit him. And we've had no briefings and no updates thus far. And so those are nice details. They come from Senator Josh Hawley and, of course, the Wall Street Journal. And that's great, but it would also be nice to hear that from, the Secret Service, the people who are responsible for protecting the president. We've had a few statements from them, but their press briefing is still missing. We know that they'll be testifying in front of Congress. Subpoenas are flying. We'll be here to continue to cover it, and we appreciate you joining us as we do. But now I want to tell you about an interesting company, very focused on energy, something we're going to need a lot of in the future. It's called Alaska Energy Metals, and they're helping to build America's electric future by unlocking what's in the ground in Alaska, critical and strategic metals. We know how important metals are to batteries and computer chips, and so does Alaska Energy. Their flagship project, the Nikolai Nickel Project, promises to be a significant source of domestic nickel, copper, cobalt, iron, and a variety of precious metals. It's located in Alaska, an area of the world long known to be a treasure trove of vital resources and minerals, where here in this area, they're on the search for nickel, a key component in many electric vehicles and their batteries. And with electric vehicles becoming more commonplace and AI computer centers and grid-scale battery storage facilities being built all over the world, the demand for nickel, cobalt, and lithium is by some estimates projected to multiply by 23 times by the year 2035. Currently, the United States finds itself with 100% reliance on its nickel. This dependency highlights the need for a secure domestic source and urgently. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act and the war in Ukraine are also driving enormous demand for energy metals, but also they place restraints on where these metals can be sourced, focusing on free trade countries and nations that are not under sanction. Alaska Energy Metals is poised to help fill this gap by providing politically approved and environmentally and ethically sourced metals. All mines in Alaska have to meet the highest U.S. environmental and government standards, ensuring responsible development. Led by experienced professionals like CEO Gregory Beischer, the team at Alaska Energy Metals boasts extensive experience in geology, mining, and corporate governance. Greg has over 15 years of experience as an exploration and mining geologist and knows a lot about nickel geology, having worked previously for Inco Ltd., which at the time was the largest nickel miner in the world. Kyle Negri and Gabe Graff, the VP of Exploration and the Chief Geoscientist respectively, round out the technical team. The Nikolai project has already identified substantial resources with significant potential for further discoveries. Alaska Energy Metals has reported an initial resource. An independent consultancy has estimated there are more than 4.2 billion pounds of nickel in an inferred resource and a further 3.9 billion pounds of nickel in the higher confidence indicated category. With an estimated over 8 billion pounds of nickel, 1.2 billion pounds of copper, and 4 million ounces of PGE plus gold, this project could provide critical metals for decades, playing a key role in America's energy independence. In addition to its economic potential, Alaska Energy Metals is also deeply committed to environmental stewardship. Next year, as the company begins to think about mine and plant designs, it plans to employ advanced, sustainable mining practices to minimize ecological impact and to ensure that the natural beauty of Alaska is preserved for future generations. Alaska Energy is dedicated to supporting local communities. By creating jobs and fostering economic growth in the region, the company ensures that Alaskans benefit directly from the development of these resources. Their initiatives include partnerships with local businesses and, in the future as the project advances, investment in community infrastructure. Management fully believes in earning its social license to operate. Despite the promising outlook, the company's shares are trading at an all-time low. The market cap stands at just $13 million, significantly undervalued compared to other peers in this space like Canada Nickel, which has a market cap of $212 million. Doing the math, competitor Canada Nickel's market cap translates to about 1.6 US cents per pound of nickel in their deposit, whereas Alaska Energy Metals and their deposit is valued at only less than 1/10 of 1 US cent per pound. On the market cap metric, this presents a 7.3 times difference in valuation, underscoring the potential for significant upside as Alaska Energy Metals drills to catch up to its peers. With trade restrictions and tariffs impacting global nickel supplies, Alaska Energy Metals is strategically positioned to become a crucial domestic supplier. The U.S. Inflation Reduction Act and the war in Ukraine are both driving enormous demand for energy metals, further enhancing the Nikolai project's value proposition today. If you are interested in doing your homework on this company and joining Alaska Energy Metals on their journey to unlock Alaska's critical metals and power America's electric future, check out the link to their homepage with more information down below. With a strong foundation and strategic vision, Alaska Energy Metals is working to deliver in the growing energy metals market. Alaska Energy Metals.